Pathmark is the AI for website conversions. With increasing online competition, over 98% of website visitors don't convert. The ability to successfully show your value proposition and support visitors in the buying journey separates you from the competition online. Pathmark qualifies and converts leads on your website by figuring out where they are in the buying journey and influencing them in key decision moments with relevant micro experiences like case studies, intro videos, and much more. Stay relevant to your visitors and increase conversions by 50% by adding Pathmark to your website in seconds, letting the artificial intelligence do all the work, and increasing conversions by 50% while you keep doing marketing as usual. Check us out on pathmark.com. All right, everyone, welcome to today's episode of Pathmark Presents. Let's talk about today's guest. Today we have Sebastian Arrese. He's a director of partnership at Tenzo. Sebastian, good to have you on the show.
Thank you, Rick. Excited to be here.
Of course, of course. So, Sebastian, I know Tenzo, it's about restaurant performance ops, right? But can you tell us a little bit about what's the heart of what Tenzo does, and how would you describe it to someone new?
Yeah, so very happy to. There's kind of the short version and maybe the back end of how that happens. So the short version is what we do is we help hospitality operators understand what's happening across their technology, what they're using for their operation, basically to make better decisions. And the idea here is the head office of a company, the CFO or the COO will be looking at different numbers than a general manager. And we try to have the right reports for the right people. So different reports, different people based on the job they're trying to do. There's a lot of stuff that happens in the back end of the technology to do that. And I can go into how we do that, but maybe I'll stop there. I don't know if you want me to nerd out or not on all of that stuff.
Well, I'm sure someone in the audience will want to know everything about it. But also, just to be clear, I want to understand a little bit more about, is there a specific, let's say, is there a specific ICP you're targeting with this, or like a specific type of restaurant? You know what I mean? Like, is there a core problem they're actually looking to solve for that one person?
Yeah, of course. So today, Tenzo is really focused on going after usually kind of medium-sized multi-unit operators, people that are probably have 3, 5, 10 different sites in the hospitality space. So we might be talking food halls or Michelin star restaurants, or maybe multiple hotels that have an important sort of F&B side of the business. And essentially what we're trying to do for them is they probably have between 2 and maybe 5 or 6 different pieces they use to run the business. So what am I talking about? Something like a POS, companies you might recognize like Lightspeed or Toast, labor management tools like Deputy and others, or 7shifts to manage their labor force, inventory platforms to manage purchases, recipes. Then they're probably also looking at reservations and social media. And we're basically, for these types of operators that have all those locations, and they might be switching between, 2, 3, 4, 5 different tools to schedule their teams, change the menu, understand how to save maybe food waste. We're trying to make it all easier. We put it all in one single place, set up the reports that they need. We can be on their phone, we can be on laptops, and we can also help with forecasting. We have a kind of machine learning algorithm to help plan ahead as well. So you're looking at what already happened, what's happening today, and potentially what's happening next week or next 2 weeks, so you can focus on kind of improving the bottom line of the business.
Got it. Okay. I'm sure that would be super helpful for, I'm thinking, is the restaurant manager potentially looking at, using like something like Tenzo for, because it's such a, what I'm thinking is it's such a stressful job, right? You need to cross your T's and dot your I's, and every day. And then, you have the operational side of things. where you need to understand what's going on. So this, from my understanding, it's bringing it all together so they can see, what's going on staff wise, finance wise, or that kind of thing. Is that
Yeah, basically,
right?
and you're right. So when you think about, let's say you might have a superstar, you might have many superstars in your organization that are able to walk the floor and also understand that, you need to be pushing the bartender to sell a happy hour special with every burger, or that you need to be keeping an eye on, did people follow the schedule you set, or are people clocking in early or late to get maybe some extra overtime, or maybe they're just disorganized. Some people can catch that, and many companies will have multiple, store managers that are able to do this. But what we're doing is very simply, we put it on their phone, we send them notifications and emails so that, yes, they can make those decisions naturally, but also they're being supported by an app that's kind of flagging that you're over or under budget, or that your supplier is raising prices.
Mm,
Every time it happens, you're getting sort of that extra nudge, and you're giving them what they need to make the better decision, so that, they don't have to go, they're not like, oh, something's wrong, let me go pull up a spreadsheet or something. Uh, it's actually already on a dashboard. It's called something like end of day report, or, cost cutting initiative, or, upselling
mm.
initiative. And it's got everything they need in that one place on their phone, or maybe they can sit down on a laptop and look at it there too. We really try to make it easy, and focus on kind of taking away that guesswork from their day to day.
Oh man, that sounds very helpful. That's good. Yeah. So, is the restaurant manager then coming to your website to find out more about Tenzo, or how does it work? Because I guess what I'm trying to understand is how does your audience typically find out about what you do and what you can offer for them?
Yeah, so that's an interesting one. So, typically the people that are coming to us, that are finding us, are either more like the restaurant owner, or maybe a ops manager,
Mm,
typically. Um, it might be a kind of empowered store manager that has trust and kind of gets it, and then they push for the project to the team. But typically it might be more these like middle management or owners that are coming to us. We also have an interesting channel or a way of selling in Tenzo, which is, if you think about us, we always have to have a partner, an integration partner in place for us to function, right? So Tenzo just doesn't work if there isn't at least a POS company that's already selling to that customer. And so a lot of the work that we do is engage online through content on LinkedIn, on our blog, but also offline in trade shows and in-person spaces, particularly in London, but elsewhere as well, to engage with those partners too, right? So in a way, those partners know all of the customers, or they have contact with all of their customers, and hopefully they know which of those might be interested or might need Tenzo, might already be complaining or asking for something that we can solve. And so a lot of what we do online to capture this interest, or to start these conversations, is, yes, we create content for these operators to find us, and we get a lot of inbound interest that way. But we're also actively engaging with the partners to basically sell them also on, hey, we'll help you close more deals, we'll make your customers
mm.
happier and stickier. And sort of we're always pivoting between these two channels to reach the actual restaurants.
Right. So it sounds to me like there's a lot of online effort, obviously, but good old word of mouth you know, is always there, right? Because these partners will refer clients and whatnot, and restaurants, right? So,
And part of it is word of mouth, but we're also actively like, we'll do campaigns focused on the partners themselves, so that
Got it.
yes, we are doing the work to create that word of mouth, and we're also trying to create relationships sort of proactively across these different companies. But at the same time, we're also creating content that speaks to people working in the sort of tech side of hospitality, so that hopefully we're top of mind for them. They're kind of, oh yeah, Tenzo exists. Maybe they can help with this issue my customer has. And so we're pretty focused on creating content for them as well, and events, and kind of, so both online and offline.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. Well, speaking of speaking to the right audience, speaking specifically to someone, right? What's the role of your website, do you think, when it comes to attracting clients?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple angles to how we use the website. For us, we're kind of a complex product, right? So because, if you try to explain it and go into the specifics of what we're doing, which is creating the integrations and then setting up BI tools and alerts and dashboards, it's not super sort of tangible
Mm,
for, if you just go to someone who they don't care about that. They want to sell more burgers, or they want to increase their average ticket value. They want to, get busier in the happy hour, right? That's a problem they want to solve. And so, and the way we solve that is by doing all this stuff, right? It's like BI and alerts, etc. And so our website is, what it's trying to do is to kind of connect these two things. The way we do that is in a couple of ways. We, of course, try to push out content very often. So we try to be kind of a way for people to understand what's happening in the industry. So we put out metrics for regions. We're very sort of prevalent in, like, southeast of the UK and London. We have metrics that kind of reflect what's happening in the industry. We're trying to get people to kind of look to us, come visit our website to learn more about that. We also talk about the specific customers that we have, case studies. Everyone's doing it,
mhm.
so blog posts and case studies that specifically talk about how we're helping. We don't really we don't try to sell Tenzo on these pieces of content. We're trying to provide tools that are helpful. So that's what we try. Of course, also everyone says this. We are trying to build sort of a tool set for people that wander into our website.
Right.
And there's one last piece, which is we also show all of our integration partners. So we have a pretty big integration listing. Kind of, you can go in and see what they do, how we work. And that's because, again, you might not know that Tenzo exists, but you do know that you really want to connect, let's say, I don't know, Square to Harry, right? POS tool to labor tool. You don't know who works with both. You Google it, hopefully we come up, right? And so you then talk to us because you're like, yes, I want these two to come together.
Mm,
I hear Tenzo can do it. And they might not even know what else we do. And so those are kind of the three things we're trying to do on the website. I think pretty successfully, but it's tricky. We're always thinking about how to be better. And there's the whole side of Google Ads and SEO
right.
as well, which we're also trying to take a crack at. But it seems like it's an endless sort of source of, you can go as deep as you want, and it's always goes deeper, I think.
Oh yeah, it's a never-ending cycle, I think, really. Um, but you did mention something interesting, I think, with the case studies and the blogs, you offering a tool set, right? You said a tool set. And that kind of sparks my curiosity in a way about, we're always looking for ways to, like, as a path monk, to help teams improve conversions, right? So is there anything you learned about, maybe even these case studies, the blog posts, and other ways to generate leads, let's say, that make a great converting website? It doesn't have to be about Tenzo necessarily, maybe you can draw from your experience in general, but Are there any tools or maybe tips that you can recommend to the audience that help with, I don't know, getting more demos or whatever it may be, right?
Yeah, so I think it's interesting. So something we've been doing and sort of testing out, and it's relatively early days, but I think we're already seeing some positive engagement out of this. And also this is something that we think about as well, which is it's not just about the content as a static thing that you put on a website, but then how do you continue to use that in other places, right? So for example,
Mhm.
the case studies that we build with specific customers, we then work with the marketing team to continue to use them. So whether it is talking to a specific prospect, or maybe we're doing an ad campaign on LinkedIn that has a landing page, that landing page reuses that case study, or we might go back, talk to a partner and say, hey, do you want to backlink to this case study? And so we try to sort
Mm.
of continue to iterate and reuse these. And also in that reuse, they also get more kind of better ranked, right? So they also kind of help the website the more engagement they're getting. And so that's one piece. The other is we're also trying to build actual tools that are helpful into them. So for example, a couple months back, we put this piece together around how to think through your tech stack. And, we try to lay out how to kind of go through the kind of operational side, assess your tech, look at the investment. But we also delivered a template on which you can use in any way you want, just to
Mhm.
even lay out what could your tech stack look like, right? And we didn't put any specific brands on it. We just laid out all the pieces so that then you can essentially fill it in, right? Hopefully is a way to help operators that maybe aren't super knowledgeable uh, to understand what's out there. And then we also shared some examples. This is a smaller business. This is what it looks like. This is a larger business.
Okay.
Like, so those are probably the two things we've learned that we've gotten some initial success and we're looking to continue doing, which are building tools for customers to use that are actually helpful, that aren't just saying Tenzo is the best,
Mm.
and we have all the answers. Sometimes we don't, and we mentioned that in these pieces. And the other is reusing the work, all that work we've put in, trying to reuse it so that it continues to be alive and hopefully also get more traffic, which kind of, it's like the more momentum, the more,
Yeah,
I guess.
that's good. Yeah, and to the point of, we're not saying Tenzo is the best in every which way. uh People see through that, right? It's not like you, whoever does that is like, I know exactly what you're doing. You know what I mean? So it might as well just be transparent and actually genuinely trying to help. And people gravitate towards your product, I think, more easily if you do that, as opposed to, plug in every 5 paragraphs or so, try this or try that. It's helpful. I'm sure it works, but you know, um,
It's got to be a
yeah,
balance, and we
exactly.
we do try to hit it, and sometimes we and on that piece we made, and I'm just thinking about it because it's recent. We actively say, in some cases, we're kind of this ecosystem player, but there's other players out there who are more like all in one, like you can do everything within our own platform and not connect with all these partners. Many customers, there's a whole space of customers that need kind of the other option, right? And that's okay.
Mm,
And maybe one day they grow enough and they want to come to our side of the kind of this vision of the ecosystem. That's great. We'll talk then. But we do try to, yeah, sort of keep it honest to an extent, right? I mean, we are trying to run a business and make money. And so it's not like we're sort of just here for the fun. But we do try to keep it balanced.
that's good. Balance is good. That's it's, people take for granted you need balance for to be able to show your brand, to be able to show the transparency. You need balance in that sense, right? You need to drive sales, but you also need the other side of things. So, okay, so we're coming towards the end of our time here, Sebastian. So before we do and we start wrapping things up, I would love to jump into our rapid fire questions.
Okay.
And the only
Oh, I lost you there for a second. I can't hear you. Is it me? I don't think it's me.
hello, hello.
Oh, yeah, you're back. I can hear you now.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so where did we get to?
You said you were going to go into rapid fire questions, and I'm actually curious about those.
Okay. All right, let me get back to the question then. It's a bunch of questions about, last book you've read and things like that.
Okay, okay.
All right. So, okay. So we're coming towards the end of our time here, Sebastian. So, before we wrap things up, I would love to jump into our rapid fire questions. The only rule we have, though, is that short and crisp answers are allowed. Are you ready?
Okay, okay, let's do it.
All right. What's the last book you've read?
So I'm currently reading a book called The Power Broker about this guy called Robert Moses that no one knows, but basically built a lot of New York City as we know it today. Like most of it, bridges and parks. Um, Starts really idealistic, then becomes this kind of tyrant. Very interesting read for anyone that is into that sort of stuff.
All right. I'll add that to my reading list. What's one single thing that Tenzo is focused on at the moment the most?
Uh, we're really trying to understand how to get more of our partners fired up without us having to go after one kind of and build a relationship directly. So how do we prioritize who to scale up via automation versus who do we just dig in and try to build relationships with in a very sort of one-to-one way? There's this tension. It's always a balance we're trying to hit. And yeah, that's always top of mind for us, at least for me in partnerships.
Got it. So maybe this one is connected. I'm not sure, but let's find out. So if there were no boundaries in technology, none whatsoever, what would be one thing that you want fixed for your role today?
I think what I would want is an easy way to connect, basically to give visibility to all my partners on the our shared customers, the deals we're working, and the issues we're trying to solve. So it sounds so simple, but just who do we share? What are we selling? What problems do we need to solve? Those three things in a single place for all of my partners and myself to see would be a game changer. Uh, a lot of people talk about that. I don't think anyone can deliver that today. Or maybe I'm missing something, in which case, please like reach out to me and tell me about it.
Maybe someone will. All right. So if there was one repetitive task that you do on a daily basis that you could automate, what would it be?
I think maybe the just report building on kind of, so I know this is supposed to be rapid fire. So basically tracking all of the revenue tracking along with tech stacks of shared customers. So basically, how much am I making? Which integration partner is driving most of that revenue? And sort of how is momentum going on that integration specifically? So a lot of we can do this. It's just a little too manual for my taste, and it still takes us
Okay.
very significant amounts of time.
I'll save you some time for sure. Okay. So last one. What's one piece of advice that if you go back in time, right, at the start of your career, what's one piece of advice that you would give yourself to start?
Uh, I would say if you're ever hitting your head against the wall, don't just try harder. Think about alternatives and smarter ways to do things. Sometimes it's the wrong wall. um, I've always tended to be the guy that outworks problems or works them away. And I think oftentimes it's more about taking a step back.
Hmm.
Sometimes I think this is not worth doing, or we need to do it in a different way. Um, yeah, that's what I would
That
say.
that's a good one for sure. I'm pretty much the same way, so I can't relate. All right, Sebastian, I want to thank you for being on the show with us today, and I also want to give you the last word. So, if someone forgets everything we talked about today in the interview, what's the one thing that they should remember about the work you're doing at Tenzo?
Yeah, so I would say uh, today there's a lot of people out there in hospitality who are really struggling to just run their business, to stay in business, to be sustainable. We can help with a piece of that, which is just understanding where to put your time and understanding what is driving the numbers behind your business. So better decisions, better staffing, less food waste. These are the things we do. Um, yeah, I think that's the main piece. Tenzo, looks after all kinds of restaurants. We've been around and for about 9 years, and we operate globally. So it doesn't really matter where they are, as long as they can communicate with us and have a big problem to solve, we can probably help them.
Perfect. And so for everyone listening, then they could go to gotenzo.com and look for themselves, right?
Yeah, definitely. And we're very active on LinkedIn. So
Perfect.
you at our LinkedIn page, you can message us, and yeah, always happy to chat. And if we can't solve a problem, we're still curious about what's out there. So do get in touch.
All right, there you go then. Awesome. Well, thanks a lot again, Sebastian. I hope to see you again on the show.
Definitely, Rick. Very nice to meet you.
You
Bye.
too. Have a good one.